It's approaching the end of April, and I thought it might be interesting to do kind of an overview of what I've sown in April, especially since this year I'm not sowing a lot of things inside because I have limited space, because my cat has occupied my entire apartment. So I'm sewing a little bit of stuff inside, which I'm storing in my office actually. So I've set up my plant lights on a shelf in my office, and I'm growing some broccoli there, and broccoli and cauliflower and rapini, this like also a brassica, and some physalis. Those are the things I'm pre-sowing at the moment. Those were sown in February, but they're currently growing indoor. But apart from that, everything I'm growing is outside, currently in the greenhouse. So I thought it might be interesting to see what kind of things can grow at this time in a very cold climate. It's currently still very snowy outside, as you can sort of see behind me. I didn't do a systematic what did I sow in March video. Maybe I'll do that next year, but just like a quick summary. So when it comes to like annual flowers, spinach and lamb's lettuce, I sow that anytime during the winter, really, because if it's too cold for it, then it'll just like lay dormant until it gets warm enough to start sprouting. And the first thing that starts sprouting is usually the spinach, and then the rest will follow. So currently I have spinach growing, I have lamb's lettuce growing, and some of the annual flowers like the cornflowers are growing. The calendula hasn't started sprouting yet. I also have some broccoli sprouts growing that I'm going to harvest as small babies, and I have some dill growing, and then some pea shoots are also sprouting now. So that's kind of like a rough summary of what's growing now. So okay, so now that's settled. So now let's look at what I have been sewing this month. So I've been saving all of the bags so you can get like a picture, and I have some clips from when I was sewing it as well that I'll insert where appropriate. And I have a list. So if you can hear some scraping in the background, it's my co-cabin owner who is scraping the ceiling in the bedroom upstairs. So that's very exciting. Maybe we'll be able to finish that this summer. So I've sewn things in 3 rounds in April. So I'll do them in order. So the first stuff I sewed in April was I did some annual flowers. Sewed some more calendula, because I think I will want to have a lot of these this year. So this is a type called Orange Flash, and it's a really beautiful, I don't know how to describe that color even, like pinkish, pale, orangey red. It's my favorite variety of calendula, and yeah, I think it looks amazing. The second, also a favorite, is this type of marigold. It's called Red Gem. I've noticed that there are a few different types of marigolds. There's this one, and then there's the more classical one that's a little bit fuller, like the flower itself is kind of filled out, whereas this is more of a simple flower, a smaller flower, and I think they grow in slightly bigger bushes as well, and I definitely prefer this to the other type. I feel the other type feels a little bit old-fashioned for me, and this I feel is just like a really good, like it produces a lot of plants sort of. So I love the color of it too. It looks really beautiful. like definitely more beautiful in real life than what you see here. And then finally I sowed a pansy. I don't really know why I bought this. It's a little bit unlike me. So I'm mostly sowing these just kind of to use them up, and maybe also it turns out I like pansies. We'll see. Yeah. Then I also sowed some peas and broad beans. So I sowed this isn't very interesting. This is a sugar snap pea called Marta. It's a Swedish, old Swedish variety with very light boats, like things. And then I'm growing some fava beans. This is a variety called Karmazin. Karmazin? I don't know how to pronounce it. So this is, I have no opinion about this variety. I've always kind of struggled growing broad beans because they always seem to kind of not want to grow straight up. I know you need to tie them, and I feel like I have sometimes tried to tie them up a bit without a huge amount of success, but I think each time I've grown them I haven't really like dedicated myself to it properly. So one year I got like a small cup, which was nice, but I don't know. So actually I noticed this year I haven't even put them in my garden plan, so I don't really know where I'm going to be growing them. So I guess I won't be like dedicating myself fully to it this year either. But maybe I'll find some space in between the Jerusalem artichokes. I think that could be a good way to go. We'll see. But even if I end up not really like figuring it out this year, since they anyway are quite nice for the soil with their like nitrogen fixating properties, I don't feel like it's totally wasted even if it's not a bean success. And finally, from that first round, I also sowed some mini pak choi. This is my favorite type of pak choi to grow. I like it a lot. It's a F1 variety called Green Fortune. I think this is a little early to be sowing it. Generally, they tend to bolt if you sow them too early. But to be honest, I don't mind that they bolt because I anyway harvest them quite small and I think they taste just as good after they've bolted. So I decided to just go ahead and sow them now anyway. The reason they bolt is that they get stressed by the cold. But yeah, I decided to just go ahead and sow them anyway, and then just because they grow quickly and it gives me joy to have something to harvest in, I'm guessing like June. And I have also sown some Swiss chard, a type called Lucullus, which is, it has like very thin and nice green leaves. Quite large, but kind of like a nice texture, I think. And I also think it's a bit early to be sowing Swiss chard because, like the pak choi, it might also bolt when it's sowed this early. With the Swiss chard, it's related to like the beets, and with the beets, I would definitely wait because if the beet bolts, then like everything is lost. Then it won't continue. Then the beet itself is ruined. But with the Swiss chard, you could just cut the flower stalk off, and then I think it'll continue growing leaves. So it's not as big of a emergency if the Swiss chard bolts. So I just want to see things grow, so I sowed the Swiss chard as well. Then the next round I just did a few flowers. This was also kind of like stuff I had lying around to use up, that I wanted to use up. Because the date is, like this one's best before 2021, but yeah, so I figured I would just try to use some of my older seed packages. So this one is, in English it's called red hawksbeard, but it's obviously not red, it's a white flower. But even the now this is a Swedish seed package. Even the Swedish name has like rosy red as in the title, sort of. You see there's like a tiny bit of pink in the center of this flower on the picture, and the variety is called Snow White, so I guess this is just a white variety of a flower that's naturally red or pink. I think this was also something I got for free at some point. I can't imagine choosing a white flower because I prefer like orange or pink or something like that. Yeah, so I wanted to use it up, so we'll be growing those. And then I also sowed this. This I'm excited about. This is also something I've grown before. It's an edible chrysanthemum, and I know it's used a lot in Japanese cooking. And I have grown it before. I've like tasted the leaves, but I haven't cooked with it before. And so I was thinking, and I have a friend who's really into Japanese cooking, so I thought I would give some to him and maybe be inspired to cook something with it myself. So I'm doing industrial level production of that particular one. And then finally, this is also one I'm quite excited about. It's called Yellow Cosmos. On the pictures I think it looks just like a really beautiful orange color, and I really love orange flowers, so I think that will be exciting. I did sow some really light yellow colored cosmos earlier this winter, but I think they got really soaked and then froze, and I think that might have damaged the seeds, so I'm afraid they won't be germinating. We'll see. I still have them, but I think they may be gone. So yeah, it'll be nice with some orange cosmos or yellow. And then the final round of sowing I did today, and that's some more like seeds that I generally wouldn't sow when I know the temperature at night is going to be below 0. It might still be below 0, it's pretty cold out now, but this week the forecast says like it's going to be up towards like 15 degrees Celsius, which is really warm for April, so it's going to be a warm week and they're going to be in the greenhouse, so I'm just going to sow them now. So these are, and I don't have bags for all of them, but I'll show for the ones I have. So I have two types of nasturtium. One is called Tip Top and the other one is called Baby Orange. I wasn't here myself in this fall, but a friend of mine harvested some of the seeds from the nasturtiums that were growing here last fall, and also some from her, some that she grew herself, I think. So I planted them as well. So I have a whole tray of nasturtiums. And then I have 3 different types of straw flowers, so these don't have pictures, but some of them are supposed to be very yellow, some of them are supposed to be very reddish pink, and some I think are kind of a mixture of different colors. I think straw flowers are really beautiful and I haven't given them the space they deserve, so so this year I did quite a lot of straw flowers. And then finally, which I also don't have the packets with me because I put them back inside because they weren't empty, I sowed 2 different types of sunflowers. So one red variety and one yellow, I think it's kind of a dwarf variety. As I described in the video where I did kind of a garden planning part, I think that was in the January vlog, I plan to do one of the lawn beds I plan to dedicate entirely to flowers. And I'm noticing, based on the stuff I'm sowing, that I'm going to have to put some either brassica or Swiss chard. So that's what I sowed in April. I hope that was useful to see. Thank you for following this video, and I'll see you soon.